At just 21 years old, he was the golden boy of Wall Street. He started with a carpet cleaning business and ended up running a $200 million company. He was in newspapers, on TV, in investors' dreams, everywhere. But here's the truth. It was all an illusion, and this kid's genius mind created one of the biggest frauds in American history. And the whole empire began to crumble because of a $600 flower order. Barry Minkow was just an ordinary kid. He grew up in the Reseda neighborhood of California in the late 1970s. His family wasn't rich, but Barry always dreamed of a bigger life. Even in middle school, he was thinking about ways to make money. At 16, he started his own business, carpet cleaning. He called it ZZZZ Best. At first, everything was simple. He borrowed some money from a friend, did a few cleaning jobs. He gained customer trust, worked hard. But soon, he realized, you don't get rich cleaning carpets. And that's when the part of Barry that always wanted more started to change. That change would lead to one of the wildest fraud stories in history. Even as a teenager, Barry had a problem. He couldn't get loans. He was too young, but his company needed money, so he started forging customer invoices. He would show these fake documents to banks and make it look like business was booming. For example, he'd create a fake $5,000 invoice for a job that never happened. The bank thought he was owed that money and gave him credit. Those small lies soon became a system. Barry signed up for dozens of credit cards. He used one to pay the other. He did the same with checks. He'd write a $5,000 check from one bank account, even though there wasn't enough money. Then he'd quickly deposit funds into that account from another, just enough to avoid getting caught. This trick is known in finance as check kiting. For Barry, it was just a way to buy time. Then came the staged crimes. Barry faked break-ins and fires at his office and warehouse. He called the police, filed reports, called the insurance company. Nothing was actually stolen, but the paperwork looked real. So the insurance companies paid him. Barry had figured it out. People trusted official documents. If the papers looked right, no one asked questions. Carpet cleaning had its limits. Barry wanted bigger payouts. So he came up with a plan. Fake massive insurance restoration projects. He claimed to be cleaning and repairing buildings after major fires, but those buildings didn't exist. He created fake reports, fake contracts, and even a fake inspection company, Interstate Appraisal Services. This company monitored the jobs and confirmed they were going well, so Barry played all the roles: contractor, inspector, and client. Investors grew curious. They wanted to see these million-dollar projects. Barry's solution? Rent a random building. He filled it with debris, hired actors to look like construction workers, and gave investors a tour. It was convincing, but in reality, nothing was being built. Still, everyone kept trusting Barry. By 1986, Barry was just 21, and Z Best was now a publicly traded company. Thousands of people had invested in it. The company was worth over $200 million. Its stock was on Wall Street. Barry was living the dream, the one he always wanted. He gave interviews, told his story, but it was all built on lies, because 90% of the company's revenue came from fake projects. Real customers? Almost none. Barry had it all: millions of dollars, fame, a flashy lifestyle, but the entire empire began to fall because of a $24 flower order. An employee ordered flowers for a friend. The total was $24, but the invoice came back over $600. Confused, they raised a concern, but Z Best didn't give a clear explanation. This small detail caught the attention of a journalist. Dan Colbert, a reporter, started investigating Z Best's restoration projects. He visited one of the buildings the company claimed to be working on. And what he found was shocking. There was no construction. The building looked untouched, and the owner had never even heard of Barry Minkow. The story hit the press. Investors panicked. Shares began to crash. Auditors investigated other projects, and discovered most of them were also fake. Barry had been renting empty buildings, faking documents, and pretending to do million-dollar jobs. Banks, insurance firms, investors, all of them were tricked by paperwork. As the truth came out, Barry vanished. His office was empty. The FBI got involved. He was quickly found and arrested. The trial revealed a story straight out of a movie, a $90 million scam. Fake projects, fake documents, fake construction sites. Thousands of people affected. Barry confessed to everything. He was sentenced to 25 years in prison, but only served 7.5 years for good behavior. Barry Minkow was just 22 when he went to prison. He lost a $90 million empire. But even worse, he destroyed his own reputation. In prison, he turned to religion, studied theology. After being released, he became a pastor. People believed he had changed. He spoke on TV, gave seminars, worked as a fraud prevention advisor. But this was still Barry Minkow. And yes, he was still lying. Even while preaching, he was taking donations and using them to pay personal debts. He even scammed members of his own church. In 2011, he was arrested again, this time sentenced to 5 more years. Barry Minkow, a genius who built an empire, a young man who got rich fast, and a con artist who made history. But in the end, the person he fooled the most was himself. If stories like this catch your attention, don't forget to subscribe.